I know you were beginning to say something about your first trip to Flag and what happened there. And before you tell it, I do have to say, I was at home. At that time, the kids were younger. And every day I would wait for that phone call. Couldn't call Peter because they didn't have phones in the room. He had to wait till the payphone was free, and he'd get on the payphone and he'd call me. And one day he's up, and one day he's down, and one day he's up, and one day he's down. And quite honestly, it got to the point where, with 3 kids at home, it was hard for me to deal with wondering who would be calling me that night. Was it going to be the happy Peter? Was it going to be the frustrated Peter? Was it going to be the happy Peter? And when he was happy, it made me happy because I knew things would be better. But it never lasted. The next day he'd be frustrated. Something happens. Go ahead and tell him what happened.
Well, yeah, just to get back to that, why you were up and then down. I mean, when you go there, you're expecting, this is supposed to be a church. It's supposed to be a sanctuary. It's supposed to be a harmony and peace, a place for you to relax and a place for you to improve yourself. But they don't allow you to do that there. I mean, when I was there, I would go from the registrar. They would take you from the registrar's office where they're trying to get you to buy more services, Scientology services, whether they be auditing or training. And then you would be moved to another registrar, which would be something about a ship project, to give money to the ship, or a library project to get Hubbard's books into libraries around the country.
Yeah,
and and then you'd have the International Association of Scientologists. So it's kind of like they take you, when they know you have a bank account, they take you from one area to another area to another area to another area, and they continually try to extract money from you for every single thing that you have, or every single thing that they have. And it became abusive. It really became so abusive that at one point in time, I mean, I was just like spinning, and I fell down a flight of steps. I mean, it sounds funny, and I sprained my ankle terribly. I mean, this was my first trip to Flag. And I was bleeding. I cut myself. I rolled into a big potted plant, and the pot broke. And it's funny now, but I cut my hand open, and I was bleeding all the steps, and people just walking past like nothing even mattered. I had to find an infirmary, and it was just crazy. It was terrible. It was one of the worst experiences of my entire life. And I thought that this was going to be great. I thought this was going to be something that I'm paying all this money for. You know how much we paid for our L's? $50,000. Let me repeat that. $50,000 for L10, 11, and 12. If you saw 3 good movies, Godfather 1, Godfather 2, and Godfather 3. Well, Godfather 3 I won't count, because that wasn't so good. But Scarface, if you took 3 of those movies and saw those, I got more out of those movies, more enjoyment out of those movies than I did my L rundowns. More improvement. Well, I won't say improvement because that doesn't sound so good. It's ridiculous to say improvement from a movie, but more fun, more enjoyment, more happiness from the movie than I did from the L rundowns. Now, I'm not saying I didn't get anything out of the training. I think the management training was good. Some of the management training that I got was good. And I was able to use that to a certain degree. But the auditing really it felt like it caved me in. It didn't help me. It made me worse. And I kept going back because they kept telling me, oh, you need a review on these L's. Because if the L's didn't work, they said, you need a review of L11 or L12. And if you do this review, then obviously we missed something. We got to get that missed something handled. And I'd go back because I want to get improved, right? I want to get fixed because I felt all screwed up. It was just not working out the way I wanted to. So went back and back and back and really didn't get the results. Never got the results that I wanted. Never got the results.
And the answer was always, it was never, there was always you. It was something in you. And then all of a sudden now they're doing the L's in a different order. Well, they realized that the order that they were doing, or whatever the processes were, weren't the right ones, so you had to then pay for the privilege of redoing it. It was never that they did something that wasn't right, or, it was always something within you. Now, I know for me, I probably got more out of the auditing than I did the training side of it. And I had a very good auditor here in Atlanta, Diane Sejolet, and I really enjoyed it. Quite honestly, she was a great listener, and that really is, to me, what auditing is about, being able to speak while somebody listens. But for the price that they charge, I probably would have gotten somebody to listen and get the same result. I enjoyed my auditing, and then when I went to do my Sunshine Rundown, my clear CCRH, Clear Certainty, CCRD, Clear Certainty Rundown, after Peter's experience at Flag, there was no way that I wanted to go to Flag, so somebody recommended that I go to the Miami org, which I did because I told, it wouldn't be as, it would be easier to get through. So I go to the Miami org and I do my setups, and all of a sudden I go into a room. Here I expect to sit down and begin my CCRD, Clear Certainty Rundown, towards clear, the level that Peter explained earlier.
Which is really what you do. Could you explain like what that is after you have said that you have reached the
The
state?
state of clear, correct.
Okay.
And this is to go and see if in fact there are certain checklists and things to determine if in fact you are what you say you have attained that state. And I go to sit down, and here I am ready to start my auditing, and I am told that because of something, and I don't even remember what it was, that now the auditors in Miami were called back to Flag to do some more training. Because obviously what they had been trained on, and my question is, if they needed more training, what about all the other people that got services there to go clear? Was it that their services were inferior? So now here I am. I have I'm scheduled to go from Atlanta to Miami, back to Atlanta. I have a full-time job. I am in charge of all the finances. We're talking about payroll coming up in the middle of the week. I have scheduled just enough time to get everything done to get back so that I can handle what I do in my regular job. And now I'm being shipped to Flag. And they hand me this huge box with all my folders. And they tape it up so I can't open it. And I mean, I am dragging. Here I am going through the airport, this busy airport, where I have to totally reschedule all my plans with this huge box that weighed, felt like a ton at that time, that I finally started just kicking it through the Miami airport on my way to Flag. Get to Flag. I mean, they weren't prepared for me. They never should have accepted me in the first place. They have this area that you have to go to in order to get checked in, so that when you do your auditing, you go to this area, and when it's your turn to go in, they call you in. Well, the English-speaking section was so full of people that they could not accommodate me. They put me in the Spanish-speaking section. Now here I am with a bunch of people, and I don't know if they're taking advantage of me or not, because I don't understand what anybody is saying.
He doesn't speak Spanish. So.
And the only reason they did that because there were less people in the lineup, and they use lineup in the Spanish-speaking HGC than in the English-speaking, and they thought I'd get more services. Quite honestly, I think they just kept passing me over because I didn't understand anything that was going on. And I would call and I would check in with Peter, and I was so totally frustrated that Peter really, if it were not for Peter, I'd probably still be there after all these years, never having received a service. But he kind of, if it wasn't for Peter and his calling and just really speaking up, what they finally did was they finally moved me to yet another area where they could get me through a little bit quicker. But it's like what you have to go through, what you pay. For the services that you pay, they should roll out the red carpet for you. And people should not have to go through the hassles and the aggravation and the frustration that they put you through. And I mean, I finally did make it through, but if it were not for Peter, like I said, I feel like I would still be sitting there today, just being passed over and pushed aside, and they don't get, it's like the cattle call, you know.
I was calling people up every day to make sure that their services were handled and working with people that I already knew because I had been down there already. And I won't say it was, the first time I was down there was the worst. It got a little bit better as I progressed and got down there, and they came to know me more. So